Okay, so let's go back to we the people.
Who were we the people qualified to vote? They were white, they were male, and they owned property.
The framers believed people would cast rational votes if they had something to lose. So, in order to vote, citizens had to own land.
And the rationale behind that was that individuals who owned property had a certain kind of stake and investment in the nation as a whole.
You have a vested interest in your community. You're not going to make rash and reckless decisions.
Just like today, voting was controlled by the states. And in a handful of states, some unmarried women who owned land could actually vote.
New Jersey, for example, women who were single but who owned property could occasionally vote.
But that didn't last very long.
It was the law in New Jersey up until 1807.
Women, by and large, throughout the 19th century, are considered dependents upon their husbands or upon their fathers. So they don't have full citizenship rights.
Women can't own property once they get married. They can't inherit property once they get married.
Everything a woman owns actually belongs to her husband. If she owns property, that property is her husband's. If she earns a wage, that wage goes to the husband. So she has no legal standing on her own.
Marriage makes one person, and that one person is the husband.
Women couldn't vote and they had fewer and fewer rights. So when the abolitionist movement was created to abolish slavery,
The abolitionist movement begins around the early 1830s.
Primarily to abolish slavery in this country.
it didn't take long for the women fighting for equal rights alongside famous abolitionists like William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass to begin to fight for rights of their own.
It was a movement of men and women collaborating with each other, where women learned to speak in public and become accepted for speaking in public.
They had conventions and they had abolitionist newspapers.
The women's rights movement grows out largely of the anti-slavery movement because what's the topic? The topic is, are humans equal? Yes, we're equal.
But even in the abolitionist movement, not all of the men treated women equally. When women went to London to attend the World Anti-Slavery Convention, the men there made the women sit in the back.
And they got a little bit upset. Their conscience had already been pricked by their involvement in abolitionism. So they came back and they issued a call for a convention, a women's convention, which we call the Seneca Falls Convention.
The Seneca Falls Convention took place over 2 days in July of 1848. The convention adopted a set of resolutions written by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Stanton was a writer and housewife who wrote the founding document of the suffragist movement in America, the Declaration of Sentiments.
It was patterned after the Declaration of Independence and suggested that women ought to have the full citizenship and political rights that were granted to men in this country.
Stanton, with support of men like Frederick Douglass, took the radical step of demanding that women across the country get the right to vote.
It's the first organized effort, collective effort, to say that women should go out and get the right to vote.